What can we do at any age to exercise the passion that we need to actually succeed in life? Well, I met someone named Carol, and at 19, she bought a baby elephant. She fell in love with that baby elephant, and that baby elephant fell in love with her, and they're still together this many decades later.
Hi, I'm Carol, and yep, I'm that girl that at 19 met a baby elephant and bought her. And she has taken me on this 50-year journey, my life's journey with her, which has been the most amazing gift and has made me the person I am today. Well, I clearly remember it.
I'm sure you do.
I was first shocked and amazed that there was a baby elephant walking down a road. Just there was a little housing track and she was walking down the road. Not by herself, she was with this man who also really impressed me, because what I remember thinking when I saw him was, he looks like he's 10 foot tall, he's skinny as a rail, he's in all black. And this is like September in Simi Valley, California, which is really hot. He was in all black and a black hat, and he was walking this tiny elephant.
How tiny when you say tiny?
Oh,
like
little, like I could hang my arm over her.
Oh,
No, she was little. She was less than a year old.
Baby.
Oh yeah, she was very much a baby.
Ooh.
So that's the first thing I saw out my window, and then I don't know if I can explain the thrill that this elephant was in front of my house. So I was overwhelmed with excitement.
Mm-hmm.
And this elephant was just this rather strange looking creature, all hairy. She had hair all over her, off her head,
Really?
down her chin, out her ears. It was very hairy and very round, looked healthy. And so when I got out there, the man, his name is Bob, he was very calm, and I was all hyper. I was like, oh my God, who is she? And what are you doing? And why is she here? And he was very calm, and he told me her name. Her name was Fluffy. And I don't think I even thought about that. And standing next to her, I remember feeling that her energy was powerful. I mean, like she must have had some sort of aura of energy around her. It was powerful, and she was very hyper too. She wanted to move. She didn't want to stand still. So her little feet were going like, in place, and she wanted to run. And he finally said, I'm just a block down the road on the other side of the road. If you want to come feed her, she's on a bottle, go ahead and do it. I was so excited.
He actually offered that.
Oh, yes. Oh, he was so kind, and he was funny. He was just laughing at me because I was so excited about seeing her and had so many questions. And so he said, she's got to go now. We got to finish our walk. And I was so excited. I put my dog back in the house, locked the door, and ran to the tire store. He had a tire store. And it truly was only like a block and a half down the road on the other side. So I was in what is sort of a housing development, old housing development, and he was on the opposite side, which was the main highway, a 4-lane highway. Ooh. Going through Simi Valley. So I got to his store before he returned, and I never left. That was how it was. And he was very kind. He let me feed her the bottle, showed me, how to make the bottles, said you can come anytime. And so
he was happy for you to do that.
Well, sure. He was so proud of her.
How did he acquire her?
At that time in history, anybody could buy an elephant.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was 1974. So
where was he from?
Well, I don't know originally where he was from, but his business was in Simi Valley, Southern California. Mm-hmm. And he had several tire stores. He had like 6 tire stores throughout Southern California. And as time passed, I would take Tara to his different tire stores and be on exhibit. We'd be there for a couple hours, and it was like a promo for his tire stores. Mm-hmm. And I got to be with her and show her off because, wow, she was something else.
What did she do to show off?
Just be herself. I mean, she
has this energy.
She has an amazing energy. She is so charismatic. She is so precocious. She is, at that time and even now, so confident, not afraid of a thing, quite empowered. She's
It
very
sounds
empowered.
like you knew almost immediately that you loved her.
There
Was a connection, not
there-
love necessarily in the word that we use it because it's misused, but you knew that you had an energy field that you had walked into and it matched. Something happened there.
Unconsciously, absolutely, this was like a fit. It was
It's a
just
love
like,
story.
boom, it happened. Now, I did not realize that it was love. I knew there was an insane attraction that I had towards her. In the beginning, she didn't want to have anything to do with me.
Really?
Yes.
How did she behave to show you that?
She would run away from me and run to Bob because Bob had a pocket of jelly beans.
How long did it take you to get some jelly beans?
Yeah, well, it didn't take long. And I figured out, food motivated. Elephants are extremely food motivated. And anybody who knows my personality knows that, I tend to have rules and, have guidelines and things we can do and can't do. And the first time I saw Tara run towards that 4-lane highway, I knew that something has to change here. She has to learn not to run away.
She was actually running away from the store?
Yeah, she was running away. She was being a baby elephant, running.
Oh, wow.
In which they do a lot of. And, but it was dangerous. So Bob agreed that I could teach her a few rules, like come here and, don't run off and stand with me. And
it was perfect because of the way you're structured, and you wanted her to survive and get smart.
From day one, my concern was for her safety. And as time passed, that's how it's always been. And her safety, not only her physical safety, but her emotional and her psychological safety. And what she taught me and what other elephants taught me, but mostly Tara, is safety is not about keeping her contained and keeping it tight and keeping the control. That's not what safety is for elephants. Safety is create a place where they can be an elephant. Then they're going to be healthy. It is incredible that this piece of land, which I searched for almost 3 years before I found this piece of land, and the realtor was a great guy. Towards the end, he actually called me and said, Carol, I don't think there is such a place that you're looking for. I don't think it exists. And I said, yes, it does. We just haven't found it yet. And when he found it, he called me and he said, get down here right now. I found exactly what you were describing. Now I know exactly what you were talking about. And this piece of land and the location, really, it met everything on my list. So the land has to be to where she can make all of her own choices, and they'll be wise choices because she'll have everything that she needs within the confines of that large land. So you've got to have the right climate, the topography, the growing season, the vegetation, the water sources. You have to have all of that. One thing, and this is the challenge. Many people have tried to create sanctuaries for elephants, but they have allowed themselves to compromise in the list of pros and cons, the pros of what you got to have. And when you do that, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You need so many factors to make it really work so the elephant has autonomy and is able to remain healthy on every level. I learned from the elephants and my experience caring for elephants what it was, because I started my first sanctuary back in 1995, and I checked off almost all the boxes. But the box I didn't check off, for reasons of not having enough experience with older elephants, was the weather. The weather is too cold there for older elephants, which means they're confined in the barn, they're not as active, that feeds to their arthritis, and boredom. It's the weather is too cold there in the wintertime and for too long. So, and that was, at the time that I chose that location, I thought it was perfect. And then I spent another 25 years gathering more information and more information and going, oh, okay, we need to go south. We need a southern location. And the other challenge is, you know, you need a rainfall. We get 50 inches of rain every year. The rainfall is important. So people say, well, why don't you go to California? Yeah, because there's not the rainfall. And if there's not the rainfall, you don't have the vegetation growth. And that is what elephants eat 20 hours out of every day. I didn't know fear. And that was, the credit goes to my parents and my family, is they pushed us. We were expected to be responsible. If there were things that had to be done, we needed to do it, and we didn't. We were told once, you know, you weren't told 2 and 3 times. So take responsibility and follow your passion. Whatever it is that you are passionate about, do it, and do it well. Do it 100%. So for me, I never experienced fear. It didn't register. There was more, I was driven, and of course it changed over time, but I was driven to be good at what I was doing. And what I was doing was taking care of an elephant. So I wanted to make sure that I did the best job possible for her, which then was very fulfilling for me. I worked for Tara's owner. Her name was still Fluffy. And I worked for free, okay? And then after some time, he would pay me. He was a good guy, and he would pay me like $25 a day to take her to one of his tire stores. And
my goodness,
oh yeah,
that was good money.
That was good money, $25 a day. And so he would do that on a Saturday and Sunday. So then she was fully trained by then to do a cute little circus routine. And in that time in history, circus was like, it was like baseball and apple pie and circus. It was acceptable. So, and in the case with Tara and I, nothing was forced upon her. She and I played the games. We played the game to learn the trick, you know. So I would give her a stick on a xylophone and let her tap it. And when she'd tap it, I'd reinforce and say, great job. And I'd give her a grape, and she'd hit the xylophone again, like, I want another grape, you know. So it was all fun. It was very rewarding. It was fun. So what I did is I was able to get a contract for her and I to perform at a brand new theme park in Northern California, Marriott's Great America. Oh. This clean, wonderful place that had, I think there were 5 themed areas, and one of the themed area was circus. And so I booked Tara in there, and it was Wenatchee Youth Circus, so it was all young people, college people, age people, that were doing all of the circus acts. And then we were the animal act. And Tara was tiny and cute and fast and
How tall
smart.
was she at that point?
I still could hang my arm over her back.
Oh, wow.
I have photos the first year that I was hanging my arm over her back. She was little. So we did that, but I didn't own her at that time. But I talked my boss into letting us go up there, and we had a deal that we split everything. We split the cost, we split the money, we split the cost of, you know, feeding her and caring for her and everything. So, and already at that time I was thinking I wanted to own her. And I would talk to him about it. He'd say, no, I don't want to. And so finally, when that first season was done, I begged him, please sell her to me. And he said, he made an offer that was just outlandish. There's no way. I mean, it was like $40,000 at another baby elephant in a year, and there was no way. Oh, my goodness. So I talked to my dad. He said, well, don't give up. Don't give up. Keep talking to him about it. So I did.
That says a lot about your father.
Oh, yeah.
No control there.
Yeah.
Encouragement.
Yeah, it was encouragement. And so I kept on and kept on. And finally, Bob agreed to sell her to me. And so I wrote a check for $25,000, as if I knew how many zeros goes in 25,000. I just wrote this check.
You never knew about bouncing, huh?
Oh, and I handed it to Bob, and I knew it was a Friday evening, so I knew it would be before it got in the bank. And I told him, you know, and I'm in Northern California, my family's in Southern California, and I call my dad. And I was prepared for resistance because this was a big deal, you know. And so I was all prepared of how I was going to answer all of his questions on, you know, why I should do this. And he said, well, no, that's good. He said, so you have figured I know you've figured out a budget. And I said, yeah, budget? What's a budget? And that's the reality. Until today, I still just go with my gut, and I don't jump into things without thinking, but I don't let things stop me if I believe this is the right thing to do. Passion. And so what would happen? 1 week later, I got a new contract for Tara to perform for the next 6 months that paid for her. So I went to the feed store and I got a brochure for horse trailers. And I found, and I realized in reading these brochures that you could have them customized. So I contacted a dealer in Texas, and I said, this is the one I want. It's 40 foot long and it's the normal 8 foot wide, but I need it to be 10 foot high inside, and they're only 8 foot high. He said, no problem.
You were looking to the future.
Yeah, well, I knew she was going to grow. and so they said, no problem, we'll add, 2 feet on it. And it's a gooseneck trailer. And they tell me how long it's, so I got to get the money to pay for that. And he tells me when it's going to be ready. And I think about it now, it's like I just got on I needed to get a truck to pull it with. Yeah. So I found a truck dealership close to the trailer maker in Texas. I got on a plane. I flew there. I got a rental car. No, I didn't. No, I got it in a taxi and went to the dealership, and they had 4 of the dually trucks that would be right. Because I asked the trailer maker. I said, "What kind of truck do I need to pull this?" And he says, "Oh, you need a 1-ton dually." Okay, fine. Those are all over the place. So I walk into the dealership, and he says, "Yeah, we've got these 3." And I said, "Okay, I'll take that one." And I bought it, I got in it, and I drove to the trailer maker. And when I drove up, I looked at that trailer and I looked at this little truck and I went, are you kidding me? This little truck is going to pull that huge trailer. And it did.
Did it work?
It did, but the motor blew up on that truck in like 2 years,
The horsepower wasn't there.
No, it wasn't there. So I hooked up the trailer and I drove back from Texas to California, and then a friend of mine helped me build the inside of the trailer for Tara and for me.
So many calculations are made by human beings based on money. Money's the object. And I know because when we started our turmeric business, we grew 6,000 plants and then more and more. It doesn't add up. The money never works. But if you have the passion, is it your experience the money works?
No. My experience is if I let the money take sort of a forward position in my process of thinking, I wouldn't do it. No way. No way. And I'm a person that I appreciate that I can live on little. Now, I've never starved. I've never not had a roof over my head, but I'm not picky. Like, I don't need to be in the best house, and I don't need, someone laughed when they came into my house now and said, "Oh, your furniture is all mismatched." And I said, "Yeah, people gave it to me." Well, I don't care about that. So if you care, if what is important to you is the label that you're wearing and the kind of car that you're driving, then, following your passion might not be the deal. From 1974, when I first met Tara, to 2010, I was passionate that entire time, and it was a journey. It was an incredible journey of what we did, ended up in, creating an elephant sanctuary for Tara in 1995, and then rescuing 23 elephants from zoos and circuses. I was living my dream, okay?
In the United States, rescuing.
In the United States, from zoos and circuses in the United States. And so during that time, what it felt like is, because I was true to my passion and I didn't make excuses, I didn't compromise the elephants, I wouldn't compromise the elephants. I felt like I was on a moving sidewalk, and if I needed something, I would do this, and it would come. And if I needed something else, I would do that, and it would come. That's how it felt, and that's how I described it to people. If I needed something, and I knew
turmeric, and you were 10 miles from it.
I know.
Who would have ever believed turmeric would have shown
And
up here?
not only that, I contact you, and you donate it to us. A product that would have cost us so much money for these elephants, and you donate it to us. I didn't have a sense of pain and anguish and how am I going to do this. I would say, how am I going to do this, and do it. I didn't say, oh, how am I going to do this? I never felt that it wasn't going to work, okay? And then there was a huge energy shift, huge energy shift. And I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. I didn't know it was happening. And my world was flipped upside down, truly upside down.
In 2010?
In 2010. And I, for the first time in my life, was in a situation where I had no control of anything about my life, and I was being plummeted by the energy, the negative energy, just plummeted. And
You didn't see it coming?
I did not see it coming. Did not see it
Had
coming.
it been building up?
Yes, but outside of my knowing,
Yes.
I mean, I was oblivious to it because I was so engaged and content with my work with the elephants that I didn't see what was going on around me. And at the time that all of this came down, I was angry about it because I thought if I would have seen it, if I would have known, you know, I could have changed it. And now I stand, how many years later, and say, no, it was supposed to happen.
Embrace your pain.
Yes, it was supposed to happen, and I am supposed to recognize that one of the reasons it was so painful is because I fought it. I fought it. I wouldn't let myself go to where I needed to go now because I wanted to stay back here where it, you know, most of it was great, okay? So that was painful. It was very painful. But that was good too because then I got a new outlook on humans because I was experiencing pain I had never experienced before, and I thought, oh, other people experience this also. I had never experienced anything like this, and it was basically that I had no autonomy. I had no ability to make any choices or to direct anything that was going on. I was just removed. But when I was what I was removed from was my life, my dream, my animals, my home, every single thing, all at once, gone. And so I was failing. I wasn't grounded, just like I'm talking right now. I wasn't grounded. I had no sense of self. I had all my connection, my spiritual connection, my physical connection was to this project and these elephants that I had rescued. And when I physically left, I felt empty, totally empty.
Betrayed?
Well, all of those emotions came in, yeah, but the betrayal hit me later because I learned the full extent of the betrayal. What I was struggling with is that my connection to that land and those elephants was so strong that when I was away from it, I could hardly breathe.
Oh, wow.
I didn't feel like I was alive. And then I recognized, well, this is part of the process of the growth, is I have to stand with, strong within myself again. I can't depend on the blades of grass of this property feeding me and those elephants and the trees and the life feeding me. I have to do that within myself and be strong again so that I can stand alone and have autonomy. So, I mean, that didn't happen in the first couple months of realizing that. Of course not. I fought it. I fought it because I thought it was so unfair. And like you say, betrayal.
Anger.
Yeah, it was terrible. And I fought it so hard that I harmed myself, because you can really damage your mind
Mm-hmm.
if you just never shut it down. If you're I was always like, why is this happening? What can I do? And I was fighting it to the point that I started for the first time in my life to experience anxiety. I had never experienced anxiety. I didn't even know what it was. All right. So having a traumatic thing happen, I believe, is part of the human experience.
That's how we're connected, I think. I got it from you. I mean, I understood somehow when I first met you that you had been through some experiences that had molded you into this dynamic person that's willing to do anything and everything to make the world the way you know it needs to be for the elephants and for yourself. Yeah, that's a message that needs to be heard, and it needs to resonate all the way down through the generations.
Well, you know, I think it's really important, and I think because I wasn't experiencing it at when I was young, but I look around me now, and I see young people, girls, women, suffering from anxiety, suffering tremendously from the pressure of what it is they're supposed to do or expected to do or how they're supposed to be. And I didn't have those pressures. And nobody expected me to do anything, so the pressure wasn't there. But I look at it now and I say, we have to help the young people to be strong within themselves because they got a long life ahead of them, and it's not easy.
And our culture has controlled them. You and I have both agreed. We're lucky to be alive, the things we did as children.
Yes.
We dug tunnels underground with no one knowing they were only being supported by bamboo stakes, and for a long distance, and nobody died.
Right.
You had the same thing in Southern California. I was in Florida, but crazy stuff that we did because there was too many of us. Nobody even tried to control us. They just tried to stay out of our way and let us come back home at dinner. That was about it. That was a very unique and remarkable experience that many people our age group had. But what would you say now to those who haven't had that, who have been controlled through the school system, have been controlled through parents, have been controlled through every imaginable thing? What would you say?
What I would say is to first off, to help these young people recognize they are being controlled. Okay, that's the first thing to recognize, that their rights and their privacy are taken from them and they don't even notice it. They don't know that all of the phones and all of those things that they use every day, all day, are taking their privacy. They have none. So I would encourage young people to first recognize the level of control that's been taken away from them, and to know that there's only one person that can fix that, and that's them, okay? And to understand that when you empower yourself, then you can make it and you can do anything you want. But you have to empower yourself, which means you have to be conscious of what's going on around you.
Conscious of what's going on. It doesn't mean you have to give up your iPhone.
No.
It means you have to want autonomy.
Yes.
You have to want freedom. You have to experience passion, and sometimes that passion brings pain. You have to embrace the pain and say, well, if that's what it takes for me to obtain my freedom, I'll pay the price. Thank you. So add to that one more thing. In our conversations, I think the thing I've been most impressed about with you is, of course, freedom and your spirituality, your connection to the earth and to the things that are important. But so much of that is not available now for young people. It doesn't mean freedom is not available. What you just said was very important. Would you add anything to that in the way of suggestion? First, identify that you're being controlled. And second, what would you say?
Working on empowering yourself, and you empower yourself by digging inside, finding what it is that feeds you, feeds your soul.
Your passion.
Yeah, feeds your soul, feeds your passion. Find that thing that you want to do without anyone telling you to do it, and then you wake up in the morning and go, jump out of bed, go, oh boy, I get to do this now. Finding your passion, finding the thing that feeds you is why we're here, and we live a long time. So, and I do say to people, don't ever work a job that is a burden for you. Don't do it. Go find a job that you love, because you should feel like you're not really working. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's not going to be
And
hard.
it's tied into what you said earlier. You can't worry about what you're wearing
Yeah.
and what kind of furniture you have or where you shop or which parties you're going to. You have to decide, if I want my freedom, I'm going to pay the price
Yeah.
of not working if I have to, or working in something I'm passionate about,
Yeah.
don't make all the money. There's no answers or questions that can be sufficient to that. But what you said brings us full circle, and I'm so grateful. We started with the freedom and the passion. We end with what we just ended with. Find your passion.
Mm-hmm.
Identify what's controlling you and move away from it.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there anything else you'd like to say? I'm so grateful I know you. I'm so grateful that we live close enough together that I can. It's hard to find you, though, because you're always out in the field. It's hard to find you, and I'm very respectful of your time. And so I'm completely appreciative of having this time with you. What I'd like to do is have several more so you could leave a legacy. I want there to be a book about what you've done with at least 4 or 5 chapters. This is a chapter here. Because you said it well, you know, we're in our 70s and we've learned things.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings me such a delightful energy to be able to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So can we do this again?
Of course.
Let's do it.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. I mean, I feel like what I've been given and what I've learned is it needs to be shared.
It does.
So.
It does. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you all of us for joining us.